Hello everybody, welcome to the Trader Merlin show. It is, hold on, why is my show not, why is the show that I'm not there? Hold up. There we go. It should be live. I don't know what that little weird click was there, but welcome everybody to Trader Merlin show. Hopefully, I'm not sure why my feed is not clicking over. Looks like we have an issue here. You guys let me know if you can hear me. I am live. Okay, for some reason it's a super long delay. My bad. Welcome. Sorry I was gone Thursday, Friday. I did miss the fireworks. Steve, awesome trade on your Tesla, although you got lucky there with that one, right? That thing was absolutely nuts. The soap opera is amazing, and I'll talk about that soap opera here in a little bit, but I wanted to get to a question that came in last week, and that was about the Circle IPO. So I'm going to start there, and then we'll go on whatever tangents we decide to go into, as we usually do. Before I do, let me give you one little golden nugget about Vegas. As you guys know, I went to Vegas over the weekend, and I remember back in the day, Vegas was like super cheap. Like everything was cheap. They just wanted you to come up there and lose money. And now it's like one of the most expensive places you can go. Oh my goodness, it was crazy. But I'm not a country music fan. I think that most country music is formulaic. It's pop, algorithms. It's mostly just garbage about people talk about my truck and my girl and my dog and my beer. There's the girl with a twangy voice. I went to go see Kenny Chesney. My girlfriend wanted to go see Kenny Chesney. And I went, of course, got to support the little lady. And I got to say, I've been to 7 shows at the Sphere, 4 of which were one band, which is Fish. I got to put this back as the second best show I've seen. Second best. It was phenomenal show, excellent energy. He used incredible visuals. So if anyone is a country music fan, I don't think that I could emphasize that enough to go see Kenny Chesney at the Sphere. You can get tickets on like StubHub fairly cheap, like $100. It's well worth it. Great show. If you do go, email me and I can tell you where the best seats are. You can email me at tradermerlin at tradermerlin@gmail.com. There are definitely seats you want to avoid like the plague. So if you do decide to go, let me know. No, Margaret, this time I did not win. I had some pretty big ups and downs there. I was doing okay for a while. And yeah, just did not seem to get my run going. At the end of the trip, just blackjack losses alone, I was down $700. Actually, no. Blackjack losses was down $400. I played slot machines because the girl likes slot machines, so that's what we get to do. But typically, yeah. No, Tofi, best seats inside the Sphere, true. However, if you are in certain sections, it's a horrible experience. It's really a bad experience. You don't want to be in certain spots in that venue, and I can tell you about them. I don't want to bore the masses. All right, that's it. Let's get into our Circle IPO thing. Now, for those who may not know what Circle is a consortium, really, of financial firms trying to create a stablecoin that, in their mind, will be the backbone for the U.S. financial system. So, in theory, in principle, this thing has tremendous upside potential. Now, for those of you who are anti-crypto and like, oh, boo hiss, digital assets, stay away from it, right? If you don't believe in crypto and digital assets or money going digital, stay away from it. If you're like me and you do believe it's going digital, well, then you need to look at the different elements and which segmentations of the market in the digital assets ecosystem do you think are going to do the best. Now, one thing is for sure, there will be stable coins. And a stable coin is essentially an asset that is pegged to another asset. For example, most stable coins are pegged to fiat currencies. So you have a stable coin for the US dollar, you have a stable coin for the euro, you have a stable coin for the British pound. And what this allows you to do is very quickly move into the digital world and have access to all of the things that are in that digital world. Meaning, I can access decentralized finance portals. I could use decentralized insurance. I could use decentralized identity programs. I could use decentralized exchanges where I can swap out tokens, assets. I can trade synthetic options and futures and forex and collateralized default swaps. Anything that you can do, and I mean anything, in the traditional finance world can be replicated in a DeFi marketplace. Now, to interact with that, you need digital money, and that is where stablecoins come in. It's your gateway to all of these different portals. You don't have to agree with it all. You don't have to use it all. It just has access to those various marketplaces. And your ticket in is a stablecoin. You can't go in there with your US dollars and say, I got a US dollar. Nope. You need a stablecoin, which is a digital dollar. So market says, why is it called stablecoin? Because in principle, it's stable to the value of another asset. They could call them pegged coins, but I think that has a weird ring to it. Now, before I go into the Circle IPO, understand that there's like 5 major types of stable coins. Several of them have been what they'll call broken or depegged, where they're locked to a specific instrument value, and then something happens and they lose that peg. That is absolutely catastrophic. And because, the process of innovation is learn from your mistakes, those stable coins that crashed in the past, mind you, it's the one from Luna predominantly, that one was what's called an algorithmic stablecoin. The way algorithmic works is there's nothing backing it. There's literally zero backing it. It's a computer program that says as more people buy it, we'll create more so the value stays at $1. As more people sell it, we'll remove supply so that the price stays at $1. It's proven that they could break that stablecoin. So that model, forget it. US isn't going to use it. The US regulators, your elected officials, whatever state that you are in, have voted at the House of Representatives on what's called the Genius Act, which you've heard me talk about a little bit. That Genius Act says, there's all these stable coins. Let's specify exactly what it can be and what it should be. And I've been saying this since I started the crypto program for Trading Academy back in 2017, is a stable coin should be backed by physical dollars and treasuries, government treasuries, the safest, risk-free investments that we can make. Therefore, the risk to consumers, you and me, is minimal. So Circle has the largest stablecoin in the United States, not the world. That's still another one. So let me dive into at least the mechanics of this. Then we'll go break apart what Circle looks like, why the price action has shot up like it has. And by the way, just so we can put this on the screen here is Circle. And I'm going to put a line at the valuation that it was supposed to be. Okay, it was supposed to be $28. And remember, the valuation of these companies why can I not get my line to double click? All right, well, that's weird. It's not letting me do it. I'll put it down here at 28 was the original amount. Gosh, this is really tough. There we go. That was the original amount. And the actual the pricing of it when it finally opened up was, why are you not letting me edit my thing? 31. Okay, so a slight difference there between these two, between 28 and 31. And I'll explain how the process of an IPO works, but just look at where it's at today. It hit an intraday high today of $138. Remember, just last Thursday, all of the fund managers, all of the big banks and financial firms said, this stock is worth $31 a share. And today, hit 138. Something's wrong there. We'll figure out exactly what that is. So, let's talk about the Circle Group IPO, what they're trying to do. Their main business is a stablecoin. And the big question is, what are those holdings, right? What we're going to talk about here is an asset-backed stablecoin. All that's allowed to be in the United States is an asset-backed stablecoin, meaning there's physical assets behind it. Now, the largest stablecoin in the world is called Tether. Tether has a model that looks like this, that's on the screen here. And I apologize for those of you listening to the podcast because you can't see it. But I just built a pie chart. And the big question is, what do these things hold, right? What are they in? Well, this pie chart here has cash. I put bonds. I put securities, other. Tether has a lot of the other. Like there's just this kind of unknown about the Tether stablecoin. When you look at what's in USDC, which is a stablecoin for this company called Circle, it's very clear. They spell it out. It's step by step. You know exactly what's in it. And what's great about it is transparency. So let's show you what is backing Circle. If you want to, you can go to circle.com. You click on the very top here where it says transparency. Not only are they being forthcoming with their numbers, they want to be very clear and transparent about their numbers so that there's no misconception about how shady their operation might be. It's a brilliant move, right? They're saying, here's where all the money is, here's what we're holding, full transparency for everyone to see. Now remember, this is backed by BlackRock, Goldman Sachs, and many other firms in the top financial players are financial backers of Circle. So they made out in this IPO, didn't they? So when you scroll down in the transparency section, you can see here you've got reserve composition. You can see how much inflows and outflows have happened over the past 7 days, 30 days, or the past year. And if you scroll down further, you can see the monthly assurance and transparency. So I'm just going to click here on 2025, and we're going to click on April. So that brings up a PDF that is this one right here. And this is issued by Deloitte, obviously a very reputable, of the big accounting firms. So you scroll down here, it'll tell you some of the basic details. I'm going to get right to the numbers, okay? And that is right here. First off, we see that they've got U.S. Treasuries, and they actually show you the lots of Treasuries that they're in. You notice that every week, just about every week, they're buying more and more short-term Treasuries, which Big Eb is probably here with us today. That's exactly what Big Eb is doing. Big Eb, we're going to call you a stablecoin from now on. He likes doing ladders on the short-term Treasuries, and why not? The yield is fantastic. Rounded out, you're looking at about 4.3%. So they show you the lots of bonds that they're buying. You can also see how much is in there right now, $24 billion. You can also see here, hopefully that's clear for everyone to see. You can see it says total U.S. Treasuries, and this is as of April, so it's changed, is $24 billion. You have $30 billion in the repo market. This is U.S. Treasuries repurchase agreements, so the repo market. And just so you guys know, I am not an expert in repo markets. It still befuddles me a little bit, the actual mechanics. So what did I do? I call someone who is the king of kings with regards to repo markets and understanding all of the little minutia of bond markets, Bill Addis. And Bill Addis let me know the rates, because I saw one place that the rates for the repo market was 5%. I saw another one that said it was 3%. Bill says it's just about the same as that short-term treasury rate, 4.4%. I'm using 4.3 for today's calculations, just to give us an idea of the numbers, okay? So right there you can see that's $54 billion of assets that are held in bonds and in treasuries. Now, you guys tell me, is this risky or not? Would you... Bill is the only real-world expert that you have on the show. True, Margaret. I don't trust people very much. I don't trust having... If you guys saw my inbox every day, I get 2 or 3 now, every single day, of somebody asking to bring on this expert or this guest or this... and I've said no to every single one of them. And I recommend that you agencies keep on trying. At some point I will. But a lot of the people that you are promoting to me to be guests on this show sound shady as hell. And I don't trust them. So I'm not going to bring on people that I feel are shady and disingenuous. So yes, Bill, would you guys say this is risky or not? Knowing that you put $1 in here and they're going out and buying these massive amounts of treasuries in a repo market, would you say that you are at risk there? Let's see. Too many former instructors have their own online... Yep, exactly. And that's normal, Margaret. These people are all trying to make some money. I understand it. The treasury shouldn't be risky. The repo market, I have no idea. Repo market's as safe as the treasury market. It's very safe. Risky if not managed correctly. Hedge if interest rates go up or down. Margaret says, nope, not risky. And I think, but bring Big Eb on the show, why not? I owe him a beer. Yeah, and I agree with everybody here. Not very risky, right? I would think that this is actually relatively safe. And that's the point. Margaret asked why they call them stable. Because you don't want something, if I looked over here and this had, Tesla bonds paying me 9%, or some crazy junk bonds making 12 or 13%, I'd be like, no way. I am not, I'm not feeling comfortable with that. Treasuries, I do. Especially short term. So if the markets go haywire and these are in 10-year bonds, this would be dangerous. But the fact that these are short duration treasuries makes me feel comfortable with this. Now, they also have, it says, cash held in Circle's reserve fund. So they've got $1 billion in cash that they're keeping on the sidelines. That is for the reserve fund. You also look down here and it says cash held at regulated financial institutions. $7 billion, $6.99 billion. What's that? That's the money just in case there is a big run and people say, I want my dollars back out of the stablecoin. I want to sell my stablecoin and get my dollars out. So with that, you have liquidity. One of the big concerns at our major financial firms is a run on the bank, right? If everybody who's riding in LA all of a sudden says, I want to close out all my bank accounts at Chase, we've got a financial problem. The odds of everyone pulling all their money out of stable coins instantly at the same time is extremely low, and they've got $1 billion worth of cash to cover it. And not only that, but you can see the maturities of these treasuries. You've got hundreds of millions of dollars coming up every few days, if not billions of dollars every few days. So you're kind of safe there. Steven says those are locked in at a guaranteed rate of return. Correct. Those are locked in short-term treasuries that right now is 4.3%. And let's call them 8 weeks, right? So what they're doing is they're rolling. They're taking income, buying these short-term treasuries, and continuing to do that on a weekly basis. So every week there's money freed up if they need it, right? So if all of a sudden there became a run on a stable coin, they know that that money will be freed up in the short term. And if they do have to sell it, they won't take a big loss. If it's a 10-year bond and you get a run in your bank and you're forced to sell that 10-year bond to get the capital to pay your customers, you may be forced to sell those bonds at a very bad price and lose money. That's what happened to Signature, Silicon Valley Bank, First Republic, right? They got long-dated bonds and got upended on that because of the yield curve. So yes, those are locked and fixed. So what happens is Circle goes out there and says, we're going to publish our mix of assets, and I've shown you that right here. Now, what I wanted to do is take it one step further and look at their numbers, right? So let me zoom in here so we can see this. Okay. Here is the spreadsheet. Now, just so you understand, Circle is a stable coin that's on many different digital networks. It's on Arbitrum, Avalanche, Base, Binance, Ethereum, Phantom, Linea, Mantle, OP, Mainnet, Polygon, and ZK Sync. Those are all different blockchains called layer ones. Each one of those may have a financial ecosystem built on top of it, which plugs into Circle stablecoin. So it's not unique to just Ethereum. I believe it's also on Solana, if I'm not mistaken, but it allows access to all these different marketplaces. So let me get rid of this number here. Take that line out since I just built this today, so I apologize if my graphics here aren't the best. But if you look over here, you can see I got short-term treasuries, and I took the April numbers and put it in here. They've got 24 billion in short-term treasuries. That represents 43% of all of the assets. This number is actually incorrect. Hold up. I got to put 6.99 billion in the cash category. I was slightly off. 1 second. There we go. So 24 billion in short-term treasuries represents 39% of the assets. You have 50% of it in the repo markets, and you have 11% of it in cash. Now, I put in here rates of return. Now, you guys let me know if any of this does not look legit. If any of it doesn't look legit. What I want to do is I'm going to go like this just to hide some numbers here. I put short-term treasuries 4.3%. That's irrefutable. I can go buy it right now. If you would like, I can actually show you if you wanted to go and look at the short-term treasuries. Let's go. Actually, we can just go to TradingView. TradingView has a whole yield curve piece now. So you click on, great. Something, every now and again, I don't know if this happens to you guys, every now and again, TradingView just seizes up on me, and now I can't click on the yield curve there. So bear with me as I bring up the current Treasury yield curve. Rates. Current Treasury rates. Let's see what we got here. This should take us right out to, I'll go to Bloomberg. Why not? And here you can see the 3-month is paying 4.35. Okay, so we can buy that right now, get 4.35. And I put 4.3% yield here. So that one, no argument there. I conferred with Bill Addis today, who's on a train home. Safe travels, Mr. Addis. That Treasury repo agreements, they're getting about he said 4.4%. I've got 4.3%. So I downplayed it one. Now here's the one I left up in the air. They said they have cash at registered U.S. financial institutions, meaning banks, $7 billion. That's 11% of the assets of Circle. I put 3% on here. You guys think that number should be higher or lower? Now, I'm pretty sure that, if you go to Chase, you're getting 0.01%, but this is not a normal Chase customer. This, to me, would be someone who's going to, be negotiating with these firms. My guess is I thought 3% is probably middle of the road because you can get 3.8 at Ally Financial. They'll probably have an arrangement with some of these firms and say, but if you want lower, Liz says lower. What do you guys think? Higher or lower? Well, I read Steve's question here. It Steven says, if I'm looking at this correctly, it's a company who's going to get 4.5% return. Why is it skyrocketing? Can I go buy the same treasury at the same rate? Why the big run up? I'm getting there. Steven. I like to be overly cautious. I like them. So Les says higher. Liz says lower. How about if I say higher or lower, we're in the middle. The next person is higher or lower, I will raise it by not 1%, but I'll raise it or lower it that amount. Who wants it higher or lower? Come on. Who's next? Margaret says 3 is spot on. All right, we'll just take it at 3%. So the 3%, mind you, this is critical that these allocations are here because that 3% means liquidity. It means if you wanted to get out of $1 billion right now, you could. It's there. Chatbot says higher, starting at 4%. Ooh. Oh, I'm not getting 10%. For a normal checking account, savings account, you're not getting 10%, bud. No way, Chris. That's not possible. For a normal savings account, 10% is impossible here in this market right now. So we'll leave it at 3%. Now, here's what I really find interesting about this. Chris Collins from Bend, Oregon. Hey, man, say hi to your brother for me. I was a little disappointed. I saw Scott, one of my good friends, caught a rainbow trout, a wild rainbow trout up there. I didn't get the message, bud. Where is the message for me to come up to Bend, Oregon to go fishing with you guys? I'll check my email account on that one, but good to see you, Chris. All right. Here is where it gets interesting. Now, think about this. When a dollar comes into Circle, they've got computers and algorithms that will literally get allocated into these 3 buckets. You've got treasuries, repo market, and cash. 3 areas, all right? So this is not something that's difficult to administer. And mind you, people aren't buying $1. They're buying like $1 million or $100,000 worth, and it gets allocated like this. The overhead and upkeep here to me is absolutely minimal. And if you look at the sheer numbers, just off the interest for literally holding on other people's money, here's the numbers that they're making. They're making $1 billion in interest off of the short-term treasuries per year. They're making $1.3 billion off of the repo market at 4.3%, and that cash is making them $209 million for a grand total of $2.55 billion per year in what I will call absolutely risk-free income, okay? So I'll start there. Bottom line is I don't know all the financials. I did not dig through the reports of their numbers, but at its highest level, they're making $2.5 billion per year. Okay. We know that there's expenses. There's overhead for buildings. There's employee salaries and all that type of stuff. They have 1,100 employees, by the way. We have some business owners in here. If you were to buy a business right now, and let's say that their revenue, it was X amount, what multiple of the revenue would you pay for that company? Is it 5 times revenue? Is it 2 times revenue? 10? You guys tell me. And I know it differentiates from business to business. In a lot of the research that I'm looking, like software as a service, which I almost feel like this is, it says 5 to 10 multiple. And totally, Gilbert, Gilbert, give me a range. What would you say would be a low-end multiple versus a high-end multiple? Okay, I love it. And there is no right or wrong answer here. It's just, let's define the spectrum, right? What's the playing field look like here? So I would say you're lowballing it here at 2x, okay? So let's say we decide to buy Circle at 2x its revenue. And let's assume that this is all the money they've got coming in. It's way less than this, I assure you. I see some big numbers here, 10, 7. Okay, that's good. So the low end is 2, high end is 7. Means we're looking at right around, let's call it 5 or 6 for middle ground. Well, 6 is the middle point. So if revenue increases every year, then more, perfect. So right now, if we were to buy it for 2 times this, that would give a market capitalization of $10 billion to Circle. Based off the numbers from last night, or from today's close, it's got a market cap of $23 billion, which means that it is about 10x. So we're right at there at 10x. So right now, if you bought Circle today, you are paying 10 times their valuation, or 10 times their gross earnings. Remember, salaries are coming out of this. rent's coming out of this, R&D's coming out of this. There's that number that they're going to be on their bottom line is way lower than 2.5 billion. That's just pure interest that they're making. So even if they got down to, let's say, I don't know, $2 billion, $559 million worth of expenses, you're still paying a pretty hefty premium. Margaret says, who owns most of Circle? I don't know who owns the lion's share. I do know that Coinbase is involved. I do know that BlackRock is involved. I do know Goldman Sachs, but I did not find those allocations. So I apologize for not knowing that one. I'm sure while we do this, someone will be able to pull that up and see who owns what percentage of it. I'm pretty sure it's out there. It's calculated based off of EBITDA. So unfortunately, I don't have that number, Gilbert, in front of me, but I use this number as strategically for this show. And the reason I chose this is their money coming in. This is their business. Now, there might be some other numbers, but pretty sure this is the lion's share of all their money. And that's gross, not net. This is gross. They're paying some of this out to customers, right? Some of that interest gets paid out. So even at the gross number, you're at 10x, right? Now we go over here and look at this. Here's the chart from the last 3 trading sessions. I'm going to try to show you all the info. There you go. All right, so it was supposed to come out at $28. It jumped up to 31 on the IPO, the day of the IPO, and then has gone absolutely wild since then. So here's the deal. I've conveyed this to you guys before on how an IPO works. An IPO works where you finally get a company that's big enough to have global impact, and they go to market and say, I want to go public and be listed. So we can all cash out and make millions and millions of dollars. So that process leads them to underwriters. And there were multiple underwriters here, big firms. Of course, Goldman Sachs is on that list. I believe BlackRock was on. I think JP Morgan was, but I'm not 100% sure there. Bottom line is these underwriters all take a slice of the pie of this. And then these underwriters, once they agree to terms with the Circle Group, they go out on a roadshow. And they get on every TV channel they can. They get on Jim Cramer and Maria Bartiromo. I saw Charles Payne comment here earlier. They'll get on his program and they'll get him talking about Circle. They need these influencers to push and promote and talk about Circle. It's the greatest thing ever. Keep pushing that narrative. And they will go to every firm they know and get more hype. Wall Street Journal and Bloomberg, everybody. That's what happened here. And because we have a situation right now where the Genius Act, remember the Genius Act should get signed this week. And if the Genius Act gets signed this week, stablecoins are going to be the topic du jour, and Circle is probably going to soar. I think that the move you're seeing right now is because everybody is thinking stablecoins are going to shoot up in value. They're not. They're stable. That's the whole point of a stablecoin. It stays at $1. So their popularity will grow, and what's going to happen is more money will flow into this, right? More money is going to flow into Circle stablecoin going forward. So when these initial numbers came out at $28 for the IPO price, demand was so high, they talked about it so much that it pushed the value up, and they said, we're going to raise it to 31. And that number got jumped to 31. Now, here we are, with the price as of close today of $115 per share. This was a company that was supposed to be $28 last Wednesday. Last Thursday, they said $31. It's a rhetorical question, but you have to ask yourself, has the business model for Circle fundamentally changed in the last, 4 days? Have all of a sudden they made 5 times the revenue that they did last Wednesday? No, they haven't. Nothing has changed. All that's happened is FOMO has jumped on this one. Now, I tweeted out today, I was shocked to see actually that there were some puts available for this. I bought some puts today on this one. I'm betting it's going to go down. And before you guys think, I see a lot of people saying rug pull, rug pull, rug pull. No. I do not believe this is a rug pull. I love Circle. I think Circle is going to be a juggernaut, an absolute freaking behemoth in the financial world. They have relationships with 185 banks around the world. They have all these direct connections, so money will now flow seamlessly around the world, kind of like what a central bank digital currency is designed to do. It is a phenomenal concept. I am a huge fan of Circle. I'm not a fan of Circle at 115 bucks because 4 days ago it was supposed to be 28, right? That's my only issue with this one. So I opened up some puts today. They're expiring on the 20th, so it's not this week. It's by next week. I opened up the 110s, and I think we'll be down below that over the next couple days. But, you know, I'm juggling chainsaws here, right? I think everybody here should understand that this is very dangerous because, you know, I've just got so much hype that this could jump to $180, $200, $300 tomorrow. If it does, I'll short even more. Wait, hold on, Ron. I think ask you if there were puts you told me I won't be able to get. I didn't think there were. Normally puts are up to the market makers, institutions, and typically that doesn't happen until we get some price history. I was really surprised to see put options available on Circle. I was kind of shocked, honestly. And normally you can't short it anyway for 90 days. It's 30 or 90, I forget which one it is. But usually there's a window of time that you can't physically short. But buying puts, oh yeah, I'll do it. Will you sell those puts early? We'll see, Margaret. I do believe that we'll be in the double digits by next week. So I've got the 110 strikes here. I paid $10 for those. So really $100, anything below $100 will be my break-even point. If we get a real sharp move down in the next couple of days, I'll sell it out before then. I mean, I don't really want to hold that through to expiration. But if this thing goes into free fall, right, and next thing you know, it's down at 70, 60, 50, or gets back to its price of $31, I mean, I'll try to hold as long as possible. So I've got a few of them, so maybe I'll close out half the position. But Glenn said, you're starting to sound like the guy short squeeze on GME. Well, the difference there is on GameStop, the short interest was 140%. There were more shares short of GameStop than there were long. That was a natural short squeeze waiting to happen. This doesn't have any short interest. Zero short interest right now. There isn't. Exactly. Margaret says your loss is defined. Yes. So I have, I'm risking roughly $1,000 per contract on this one. And we'll see. No, this is extremely speculative. I don't think anyone in here would say that this is a safe, stress-free trade. This is super risky, which is why I'm not selling puts, right? I'm not going to commit myself to buy it at any price, but I'll play the directional side, so I have defined risk on this one. And in my opinion, you just look at the way this thing has moved. I mean, at one point today, you had, it was up 28%. At the end of the day, it was still up 7%, but, selling's coming in here. There's going to be some selling pressure dropping in, and I think you're going to see this thing go much, much lower. You're get allowed to short. Let's see. Options trading started trading today. I don't think normally options would trade on a stock IPO for a month or two. So, exactly right, Mike. When I don't know, I just clicked on it like, I know I can't short outright Circle, nor would I want to, right? If you look at this, if I was to go and short Circle, assuming I could, right, outright CRCL hit short, I'm exposing myself to unlimited risk, and I would not do that. I would absolutely not short outright here because this is FOMO. This is market euphoria, and I think what's interesting about this is it's not like the money is going to start flowing in monumental amounts. This valuation is way overdone. Remember, they haven't come up with a widget that they sell, and each widget makes them a certain profit margin. In this case, they're borrowing money from people. That's essentially what they do. They borrow money, and they're earning at maximum about 4.3%. So you're telling me that this thing has moved up hundreds of percent in just a short window of time? Let's go to the $31 strike. I think I can do that here. Let's go. It's up from its IPO price of $31, where it should have been. It's up 267% already. And that's from the elevated number. If we go from the original one, which is $28, this thing's up 302% in 3 days. At its peak, this thing was up 384%. So I think it's natural for this to come back down more. And I could be totally wrong. FOMO could jump this thing up even higher. But I wanted to present this today, at least from the perspective that you understand, they don't really have a product other than a stablecoin, which is pegged to the dollar, and at a maximum, they're going to make about 4.3%. I bought puts. I bought directional. I wanted to define risk there, Big Ed. I wanted to define that risk. So I bought, for sure. I would definitely not sell in puts. God, that'd be crazy. yeah, that'd be way too dangerous for me. I do take risks every now and again, but if I was selling puts, that would be nuts on this one. No way. I'm buying directionally. I bought the 110 strikes, and we are currently at 115. Actually, it's up in the after hours at 116. I'm not worried. Those are going to expire. I'll put a vertical line here so we can either all laugh at me or, let's see, where is... we got to go out to the 20th. So I've got the 110s. Let me actually just make 100% sure here because there was a lot going on my trading day. Let me just make sure I got the right numbers so you guys can all... Full transparency here. I have on that bad boy, CRCL, I got the 110s expiring on the 20th. So I've got between now and that vertical golden line for price to drop below $110. I honestly think that is a no-brainer. I don't think that there's any chance of it staying above 110. And we could make that same argument with Snow. You guys remember in the very beginning when Snow, they were a cloud provider of data storage and they were soaring. Let's look at their IPO and we can see what happened there. Okay, here's the first few months of Snow. I forget what their initial number was supposed to be, but their first day of trading was 245. They ran up to an intraday high of 319 and drifted lower. This is that typically where prices shoot up like this, and then there's some profit taking right in the IPO. So, can you plot the options price, please? You mean I can write on the screen? I don't know how to. I can claim ignorance here, Margaret. I don't plot options price charts on the chart, but I'll put a note there that tells you what it is. We go Merlin bought 110p. Okay, or I'll just do plus. Okay, I'll do Merlin plus 110p. I'll put that right there, and I'll put it right over the line so we know what it is. I haven't Thinkorswim. I have not done it on this one, but I usually don't look at plotting the price of it. So buy put directionally at 113 strike, July expiration. You could. I mean, again, it's up to you. Looking at the numbers again. What was Snow doing? Snow was a service provider, software as a service, cloud storage. They could get new customers like that, and every new customer could add monstrous numbers to their bottom line. You guys tell me, how does Circle make more revenue? How do they make more money? Steven says, I still don't understand why anyone would buy this. I can go buy the same treasuries that they do and get the same return and not pay anything there, management fees. So on one level, I love that comment. Thank you, Steven. That comment should have put you at number one. But you got to fight technician JD for that one. So if you look at what you're buying is the gateway into the digital world, right? Stablecoins are your gateway to enter into anything to do with digital assets. So what you're going to get is most likely a company that's percentage of the industry is going to grow. So yeah, you could potentially go buy and get 4.3% yield by buying some treasuries. However, here are the largest. Let me real quickly just go and show you categories. So this is a site called CoinMarketCap. If you go there, it's a great place to analyze different digital assets and crypto. If you go to categories and just go Control F and type in stable. Let's go to the next one. I want stable coins. There you go, fiat stable coins, right? So we have fiat stable coins. And you can see Tether. Tether's number one in the world. They've got $154 billion. But as I've mentioned before, Tether is a Chinese company. They're opaque about their holdings. They're getting better, apparently. But they still are not fully transparent. At one point, they had massive holdings of Evergrande. Now, Evergrande is, a major developer in China that was having serious financial problems, and people thought they were going to go insolvent. And Tether was getting 8+% on those bonds. But that's too much risk to the customer, right? Too much risk to the customer. So what will happen here is USDC will probably grow from the 61 billion. And my guess is as soon, and I mean this could happen next week, guys. If the US government votes, if our senators vote that you have to have audited financials, you can only be in cash and US treasuries, then Tether will no longer be allowed to operate in the United States. Can you see what happens there? Tether will no longer be able to operate in the United States if you have to have cash on hand, US dollars only, you have to have government treasuries or repo agreements. If you have anything else, you cannot be in the US market, which means that any quoted pair on Coinbase, Kraken, Gemini, Binance, anything you trade against will now be quoted in USDC. So Margaret said, is that good or bad? In my opinion, it's good. It's good because Tether is risky. There is the potential that Tether could go insolvent, right? If we look at that initial pie chart that I had here, let me bring it back up. Okay, let's bring that up. And let me real quick, just for the sake of argument, put in Tether's logo here, because I don't want to get confusion. Copy this, and let me put that in our graphic. So 2 seconds here. As they said in Pulp Fiction, in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. All right, let's put the Tether logo on here. All right, so in this graphic here, you look at what Tether, and let's say it's got a bunch of cash, and this other and securities pie slices. We don't know what that is. That could be a stock. That could be junk bond, right? So that's the problem is it's too risky. Now Tether's making a ton of money because they're in higher yielding bonds, but it's also a risk to the consumer. So while I normally think that most of our elected officials are just incompetent, lazy bags of air, this is a really important bill because it's going to tell everybody this garbage, this risk to American consumers, which is junk bonds and a stablecoin, has to go. So one of two things is going to happen. Either Tether is going to fundamentally change their business model overnight, or they're going to lose market share to USDC, which is what you guys saw here. Chris said, so money would flow to USDC. Correct. That would be my assessment. And let's just say that they lose 30% of this. So 50 billion flows out of Tether into USDC. And some of you may think that that's not going to happen. It's going to take too long. Well, it could happen very quickly because Coinbase and Binance and Kraken and Gemini will stop listing it as a trading pair and use USDC, which will increase demand for it significantly. So what happens here would be that these numbers that we've looked at would change. And I don't have this isn't done with formulas. I apologize. Normally I do all formulas, but I have 39, I have 50, and I have 11. So let's just say that this doubles, right? So we go to 48 billion. Oops, 48 billion. Add a couple zeros on that bad boy. 1 sec. I need to add 3 more zeros on here. Oops, how about take off 1? I'm getting too big in numbers. This is where your valuation would increase because their earnings would start to increase, obviously. So this would end up being 6800, 123, 123. Okay, and then cash on hand would stay the same. So now they've gone from 60 billion, they've increased $50 billion. They would probably have a little bit larger reserve requirement for their cash, but notice their earnings now have gone from 2.2 billion to 4.9 billion. That's where the valuation would come in. This share price would appreciate, and you might be able to make that 4.3% safe, but you're going off price appreciation. So this is a big vote of confidence for U.S. bill and bonds. Yes, it is. But, I mentioned it years ago in 2017. I said, look, if you want to make this thing work, you have to get the regulators on board. You have to get the government behind you. Otherwise, this is not going to work, right? Without approval and acceptance in the U.S. markets, cryptos will struggle. So what this is it could not be a bigger stamp of approval for crypto overall, because now the government is saying, we're okay with digital assets as long as it buys government bonds, which helps out the government, right? It's buying treasuries. We now have buyers for treasuries. As we get more buyers for treasuries, the yields are going to drop. Even better for the U.S. It also says you have to hold in cash, which means that these stablecoins will be holding billions of dollars, which again helps out the U.S. government because it's dollars, therefore adding a little more strength to the world reserve currency argument. So, Margaret, you're right. It is a big vote of confidence, but the government, it's a win-win for the government. You protect investors by making them buy dollars. You boost the reserve currency status by holding dollars. And you're getting a new buyer for treasuries. It's a win-win-win for government if structured correctly. So the bill is expected to pass this week. I think if it does, that could cause this thing to pop a little bit more, obviously because more money flowing in. But at present valuations, guys, I hope it's evident and abundantly clear that I think Circle is fantastic. You've got BlackRock and Goldman Sachs backing it. You've got the brand new gold rush of cryptocurrency and digital assets is upon us, and you need a medium for people to get in. That's USDC. And not only that, but if you look over here, most of you, I know Big Eb is over there loving it because he's getting 4.3% for holding, 8-week treasuries or 3-month bills. I can go over here and I can take my crypto holdings. So this is just a little bit of cash here. I'm just keeping, notice I've got 2 items on my screen here. US dollar, I've got $334.50 there. And USDC, which I've got about $3,600. Notice the APY on the dollar, 0. And APY for the USDC, 4.1%. 4.1%, they're paying me to hold USDC. So they're incentivizing me to get in the digital ecosystem by holding dollars. And I can get in and out of that anytime I want with no fee, no transaction cost whatsoever. So is Tal the next Bitcoin? No. I don't think there is a next Bitcoin. Bitcoin's Bitcoin. I don't think there'll be another one. All right, I've spent a lot longer than I think I probably needed to on this one. I hope that I conveyed 2 things. Number 1 is my euphoria and optimism for stablecoins to be regulated in a very clear, concise manner by our U.S. government. I think that is phenomenal. And stablecoin will be the number 1 stablecoin for U.S. markets unless something dramatic changes. I also believe that this is way overvalued. I think that at present numbers, it's way too overvalued. And I do think you'll see this thing drop over the coming weeks. I have money on the line here, so in full disclosure, I do have put options. I'm long put options on Circle at the 110 strike expiring June 20th. That is not an invitation or a recommendation. I'm just being transparent. I'm letting you know what I do. You guys have to be your own risk managers here. Again, do this with risk capital if you decide to go short or go long puts on Circle. Don't sell puts. I think that's crazy. The premium is amazing. It's so enticing, but I would not want to see anybody get blown up or lose all their money because you sold puts on something that just went totally against you. All right. Man, that was a long-winded thing. I didn't get a chance really to get into other stuff here today. I wanted to share a couple funny things with you. I've only got a few minutes left here. I really thought that this was humorous. Obviously, over the weekend, the Trump Elon Musk thing, it's got to just be dumbfounding. I know we've got people here who love Trump and some who hate him. That's fine, whatever. I think we were all pretty much just blown away at how quickly this turned from looked like, bosom buddy friendship to now just hostile enemies. They're like, it's just so mind-boggling. So I saw this picture here. There's 2 pictures on this one. It's so funny. It's just so great. I got Trump with a little teddy bear looking all sad, looking out the window, and then I got Elon Musk with his radio above his head. I think I forget the name of this movie. It's not True Romance. It's what name of this movie? There's a name for this movie. It's a really famous one, popular movie. But, and then all the jokes going around about, do all the Democrats now go buy Teslas because of this? Oh, man, it's just so bizarre. So bizarre. No, it wasn't Breakfast Club. It's with John Cusack, and he holds a stereo above his head, and he's playing to his girlfriend. Radio, True Romance? I'll find out. Does it say anything? Might be Say Anything, TD. Might be saying anything. Anyway, I thought that was humorous. And honestly, that's going to be the most volatile thing for our markets over the next few days, I think. It's just the dust settling from these 2 guys just going at it. It's just absolutely hilarious. Anyway, let's go into our markets. By the way, just for closure of trades last week, since I've been totally transparent with you guys, my SMCI was taken away, which is fine. I still have my United Health, and I did sell the 307.50s calls against my position. And then I have MicroStrategy. As you guys know, I have the 400 puts expiring on the 20th, I believe. I have the 380 calls against my position expiring this Friday, and I actually sold some 370 puts today again on MicroStrategy just because the premium is just so great. Anyway, just letting you know those ones. Let's dive into what we have here. Here's our 10-year yield for the day. Again, nothing overly dramatic. If this is in fact that next leg up in yields, we cannot break this lower low. And I'll move this down here so we get to that. But there's your lower low, which is right around 4.3% on the 10-year. All in all, I still like the uptrend that's going. And as you guys, I've told you many times, I'm still bullish on this one. Oh, yeah, Chad. Chad says the Trump-Musk critique has been volatile. Poor Tesla, poor holders of Tesla. Yeah. You know, it's like, if you're on the right side of it, could be awesome. But like, honestly, I'm almost like, I wouldn't mind buying a Tesla. I like the vehicle. I think I'd be a little bit. I'm not going to buy a Tesla for a while until this all kind of goes away, because now I don't know who's going to want to key my car. I could have tons of people key my car. You look at the dollar index. Nothing's changed here, right? We're just kind of baselining right along that yellow box we've got drawn. I'll have to extend it out here. Kind of 98 is that floor for the dollar index, and we're not showing any strength for that dollar, which is not really a great sign. S&P, call it unchanged on the day. The good news is it's our second close above 6,000, right? I've been looking at that level as kind of this overhead ceiling, and we've hit our head on it a bunch, right? We hit it back on May 20th. We hit it back on May 29th, and then again on June 4th and 5th and 6th, and we closed above it last Friday. Last night when we opened up, we started showing some weakness. We're down below 6,000. I'm like, okay, here we go. We're going to get it to sell off a little bit. But we held it. So I think this is actually a really good sign, the fact we're holding above 6,000 on the S&P. The trend does look strong, certainly from early April. Does look like it's poised for a breakout, and if it does, I think you're going to be challenging that 61, 66 mark in a very short window of time. NASDAQ, similar picture. A little bit of strength today, just up 0.15%, but again, trend is your friend to the bend at the end, which is why I'm still holding on tech long positions. We had gold up 0.25%, even though boring, right? The chart of gold doesn't look great right now. It hasn't really done much. It's not making higher highs, not making higher lows. It's just kind of traversing sideways, and as a trader, I want the bigger swings, and that's just not cutting it. All right, top podium time, Russell. 0.65% gain. Now, Russell broke through on Friday that overhead ceiling, which, again, when you break levels like that, you're going to go straight to the next one, which looks, it's really difficult. These are fairly close together, but we're coming up into shorter term supplies on right around 2,193. But that would be that target point. And I believe you were talking about this one, Margaret. We had that trend line drawn here on the Russell, and it did break last week, but never had momentum. Now it's broken. Right? Not only is the downtrend line broken, but it's actually making a higher high. So this is a very positive thing for small caps, which, as we know, tend to do well in times of expansion and economic optimism. This is a really good sign. Crude oil, 1.11%. So not only did we get the neckline breakout on Friday, as I was in Vegas at the pool party watching this breakout. It was so funny. People were giving me such a hard time, like, hey, I need to make some money. I'm at the pool party. I got to trade. Get off your phone, get off your phone. I'm trading, leave me alone. But now the question is, where do we go? Because if you follow these price patterns of head and shoulders, that would be your measuring object, and that would give us a target on this breakout. Let's see, right there would be the breakout. Wow. Almost perfectly back up to the origin of this big sell-off here for crude oil, which would be right about $72. So I'm looking at a target on crude oil right now of $72. I will take that lower line and just move it up here for sake of ease. There's your target. Full on measuring object, pricing in $72 crude oil. Would be interesting if it got to that level. Obviously, I think it'll stair step up there, but the momentum has started, right? You're starting to see that pop right now. So that's pretty nice. And lastly, hallelujah, we've got Bitcoin again. I noticed it on Friday. It dipped down below that level, just pierced below it, and then ripped up on Thursday. This is really a positive. And I think that if our elected officials, if the Senate votes on this Genius Act and pushes that through, this will be a big pop for Bitcoin, because the next step for crypto, once this Genius Act is out of the way, is a regulatory framework for what's a security and what's not. Yes, all of you should be embarrassed that after 5+ years, the SEC still cannot come up with a clear definition of what is a security and what is a commodity. That will all get ironed out. And when that happens, mark my words, when we get that clarity, you'll be able to go back to something like this page here. This is CoinMarketCap I'm looking at. And we'll scroll through here, and a lot of this stuff is going to go away. Some of this will not be able to be listed in the United States because it is a security and hasn't met the requirements with the SEC. So a lot of this could get pulled away. So let's say, for example, I'm playing devil's advocate here, so don't say that this is what I believe is going to happen. But let's just say, hypothetically, we have heard that Ethereum is a security. If Ethereum is a security, that means it fits all these different conditions according to the SEC. If that gets regulated by the SEC can now say, you have not met these specific filings of this document and this form. You haven't met these financial hurdles or obstacles. Who's your board of directors, all that stuff. And they may be removed from U.S. markets. I say may. That's a stretch. But can you imagine what would happen if they said Ethereum gets removed from Coinbase and Kraken and Binance and Gemini? Most people here would go and sell their Ethereum, and they would buy the ones that could stay. So it could be very impactful for these markets when we get that clarity of which ones get delisted and where's that money flow into, which is why I think Bitcoin is still the safest place to go. Read the pool comments. Read the pool. What happened over the pool? Oh, great. I guess I got a couple minutes here left. I need to make some money to pay for that tequila bottle. Man, I'll tell you what. We got a 4-seat in the water. So it's like these little waiting areas. 4-seat cabana. And just to reserve a 4-seat cabana was like $600 after tax and tip and everything. And then, for a bucket of Fiji waters, the little bottles of water, a 6-pack of that was $79 for 6 bottles of water. Pretty crazy. Yeah, you'll just suffice it to say, folks, that the pool bill was pretty darn expensive. That was a wild one. What did we say? Was it one of those? No. I keep my clothes on. Yeah, no clothing optional. I think that's the. Is that the Encore? I think it's the Encore, or the Wynn has a. I think it's a topless only pool, or you can be topless at the pool. Let's see. Why we should give time to sell risky assets and conform with new asset requirements. I think they will. And bottom line, Margaret, is I'm sure I'll be sharing it with you, but as the stablecoin bill gets through, I think that's going to happen. When that happens, the next bill, I'll be breaking that down in its entirety to see what could possibly happen here. I think that one's going to be much more impactful on crypto. This bill, this Genius Act, is really, in my opinion, the government saying crypto's here to stay. Digital assets are here to stay. Because now you've got a stable coin. And remember, that stable coin is on all of those different blockchains that I mentioned. I mean, there's a lot of blockchains that USDC is on. Arbitrum, Avalanche, Base, Binance, Ethereum, Phantom, Linea, Mantle, OP Mainnet, Polygon, and ZK Sync. Also Solana. Right? That's a lot of different networks that USDC is a part of. Therefore, you're adding legitimacy to those ecosystems. To me, this is great. I think I told you there was a guy, I will not mention his name, but years ago when I was doing power trading radio, this is 2016, 17. Yeah, I think 17 actually. He got all upset and blocked me on social media and called me all kinds of names and he called me a liar and all this stuff, and I'm a pump and dump and I'm going to get people ruined financially. I said, look, I'm just talking about instruments and markets as they change. It's our decision, our choice, our independent actions to say, I want to participate in this potentially risky new idea or not. And if you don't want to, great. You don't have to. And back then, that was those digital assets. And I wish I could see this guy now and be like, you still want to call me all those nasty words? I mean, I was just early. That's it. Do your own research, and if you feel strong conviction about something, go for it. Who drinks water in the water? Trust me, you want to drink water at that pool. Ugh. No, not that one. He was just a dummy anyway. The best part was that guy, TD, he would tell people he's trading crypto, and then he would come to my office and be like, hey, how do you buy Bitcoin? How do you do this? He knew nothing about crypto, but told people he was. You guys are hilarious. All right, that's going to do it for me. Again, thank you guys for the questions that came in. I'm glad someone asked about the stablecoin and Circle IPO. The Circle IPO, I love it. I think it's great. I am not a fan of the current prices, and I put my money where my mouth is, and I think it's going to end up drifting lower. In the next decade, do I think $100 is a good price for it? Yeah, probably. I mean, can you imagine if the world continues to go down this path where all businesses are accepting stablecoins? We're not talking $100 billion invested. You could be talking $1 trillion worth of market cap or money in that USD system. Now, what I think is going to happen, honestly, is I think that the government will test this out for a year or two, and then they'll start their own central bank digital currency. They'll start a stable coin, if you will, that's run by the government. Circle's not run by the government. It's a private corporation. LA riots not affecting you, I hope? No. I'm staying away from LA altogether and the chaos that is there. I think I'm somewhat safe where I'm at, but you never know. It's just, we live in very, very, very strange times. All right. That's going to do it for me, everybody. Thank you very much. Yeah, and thank you for the concern. Yeah, it's funny. I have relatives and people asking me about it. Are you safe? Yeah, I'm safe. I stay out of it anyway. I'm not gonna go drive down and protest whether I'm pro it or against it. I'm not. I went out there, and for the women's rights one, I did the little women's rights march. I think that's pretty important, but this one I'm staying out of. Okay, that's going to do it for me, everybody. I want to wrap up here. I got to get to the dog parks. I hope you have a fantastic remainder of your day. If you enjoyed today's show, hit that like button. If you're brand new, hit that subscribe button. And if you want me to cover any other topic, let me know. I'm always happy to go into things. It may take me a couple days to get there. I know you guys are waiting for the Google show. I want to do more research, but as you know, I've been all over the place and traveling and just busy. So I'll get to it as soon as I can. But for today, that's your Circle IPO. I love it, but just not in the short term. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care.